Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Okay.
Hi.
I can hear you now.
You got it. Okay. You can hear me?
Yes.
Is this Lisa or Christy?
Christy.
Christy.
Yes.
Is Lisa, are you here, Lisa?
I think Lisa called in as well. I think she's also trying to figure out how to get into the conference.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, hi.
Lisa?
This is Lisa.
Lisa?
Hi, yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
Great.
One hurdle down. I can hear you.
Good.
I'm going to log into the thing in a few minutes. I'm logged on to have you been able to get into the webinar itself? I haven't activated it yet, sent it live, but.
Okay. So
Yeah, I think so. Oh, so go ahead, Christy, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I'm on the screen. I can see the webinar title and JFI logo and everything. So maybe I'm on the right page, but there's a countdown clock. So.
Okay, it's a countdown clock. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's what it should be. It's sort of like in the wait mode.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Awesome.
I will let me go live. Boom. Start that. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes and then I'll start the event. How are you all doing?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it is crazy busy on your end as well.
Yeah, things are pretty busy these days.
Yeah.
They're pretty busy. Are you taking any time off at all? What's that? Were you going to say something? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just, so is this, I'm trying to click meeting. I don't think we use this one at Clinic. So will we advance our own slides in this one?
I can do that. I'll advance the slide. That's
Perfect.
a good question. I meant to say something. So what you want to do is once you're done with the slide, you just sort of tell me to advance the slide, and I will. And then if you need to go back for some reason or something like that, just let me know. Just say next slide, and I should be able to jump on it right away. So yeah, you'd need a separate access code and everything to get in.
Gotcha.
Which we could
You
have
never
done.
want to give me access code to any technology because I'm gonna.
You'll screw it all up, huh? Is that it?
So it's better that you are going to control it.
Well, I always hold my breath when we do these things because every once in a while, you have this weird something that happens, and it's kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't as often manage these as does Tony, because Tony usually does the JFI webinars. So.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. I know, and there's so many different platforms too. Like I'm trying to think of the ones we use at Clinic. I know we have 2 separate ones, and I can barely use either. So.
I know. Yeah. No. I know the feeling. It's one of those things.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go on mute and rehearse my talking points a little bit, but be back in a few then.
So it's just star 1 to get back on, and star 1 or you can just mute it. Just mute it your own phone too. That's probably easier. But.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to let you know that we will be getting started in a few minutes for this webinar that is being hosted by JFI and managed by Clinic on the fee schedule and some of the changes to the fees. So give it a few minutes, get some more people on, and we'll get started at the top of the hour. Thank you. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Todd Scribner, and I am here at the Justice for Immigrants Campaign, Migration and Refugee Services. I want to welcome you all to the webinar today on the fee schedule. I have a couple of starting points before we move into the actual webinar itself. First of all, any questions that you have, there's a chat box in the lower right-hand corner that you should be able to type questions into, or comments or requests. So I would ask that you do that on your end rather than trying to do it verbally. We are muted. Your system is muted so that there isn't any background noise, which can obviously be disruptive. And so type any questions that you might have into the chat pod, and we will get to them either as we move forward or at the end, depending as the situation arises. We plan to be posting this webinar online, on the JFI website in the next couple of days. So, if you have friends or colleagues who want to watch this or might be interested in this topic, please feel free to let them know about it. They can go back onto the JFI website and view it there. We'll send information about how to access it. Although if you're familiar with the website, there is a webinar page, then it will be posted to that section. So I want to sort of just jump right into it and introduce our two guests today who will be talking about the USCIS fee schedule. First is Christy Williams, who is Clinic's advocacy attorney for state and local, where she leads the organization's advocacy initiatives on immigration policy matters at the state and local levels. Second is Lisa Parigio, who is the advocacy attorney for policy and outreach at Clinic, where her work focuses on federal-level administrative advocacy, including TPS and DED, naturalization, and USCIS oversight. We're really excited to have them here, and I'm going to turn it over to them. So, Christy and Lisa, I'm not sure who's going to go first, but you're more than welcome to start.
Great. Thank you so much, Todd. Thank you for the introduction and for inviting us to speak on this JFI webinar today about the USCIS fee schedule. This is Lisa Parigio speaking first, and I'm going to cover a little bit of background today on the USCIS fee schedule, how this has worked historically and what's different now. Talk about the actual content of the proposed rules, some highlights that are particularly alarming, of course, and then talk about responses, what we can do during this frontline moment as the rule is in the public comment period, and then turn it over to my colleague Christy, who's going to talk more about the specific work that she's doing and can be done on the state and local level to respond. So on this first slide here, again, to start with a bit of background on the fee schedule, USCIS is a unique entity in our government because unlike other agencies which are funded through the appropriations process, USCIS is primarily a fee-for-service agency. And that's why until very recent history, people who were interacting with USCIS were referred to as customers, which of course is a word that has been stripped out of not only USCIS's mission statement, but other policy and documents of the agency. So as a fee-for-service agency, USCIS is required to review the fees it charges for immigration benefits and for naturalization every few years, and to calculate its operations and its budget, and to make adjustments as are needed. And generally speaking, as we well know in the immigration advocacy arena, fees have been going up, over time. But what's different now than in history is we're really seeing a process that is being politicized, and the USCIS proposed fee schedule has massive sweeping changes proposed, and that can have enormous consequences not only in the immediate term but in the long term as well. So if you can please move to the next slide. Thank you so much. So the mechanism that USCIS uses to evaluate and adjust the fees is the rulemaking process, in which there is an opportunity for the public to submit comments and take part in that process. And the USCIS proposed fee schedule was published officially in the Federal Register on November 14th. It is certainly something that advocates have known is coming, because of course it is something that is required to be done every few years. So as much preparation as possible was done. The top line takeaways from the USCIS proposed fee schedule is essentially that we're seeing in it dramatic increases in fees across the board, while simultaneously the slashing of fee waivers for basically everything that isn't required to have a fee waiver by law. And overall, there is a 21% average increase in fees across the board. And if you can advance to the next slide, I believe we have some highlights for everyone. Perfect, thank you. The proposed rule is over 300 pages, but we've pulled out some highlights here, if you will, that we think certainly warrant close attention and are things to think about at the top of mind as we're planning our responses. So in the proposed rule, we see the proposal to increase the fee for naturalization from $640 to nearly $1,200, an 83% increase, combined with the elimination of all fee waivers for naturalization. So to be really clear, what the proposal says is, if you can't produce nearly $1,200, you cannot naturalize and become a U.S. citizen. We also see the adjustment of status package for people eligible to adjust to become a green card holder, a lawful permanent resident, increasing from $1,225 to $2,195, which is a 79% increase. For DACA recipients, which of course must be renewed every few years, an increase from $495 to $765. Another highlight, which isn't on the slide here, but is important to note, is the petition for family members of U visas. U visas for people who have been victims of crime in the U.S. and are assisting law enforcement. The proposal is to increase the fee for the family members from $230 to over $1,500, a 559% increase. And the other proposal that has been making quite a bit of headlines, a lot of headlines, is a proposal to institute a $50 fee for asylum, for affirmative asylum, which would make the United States reportedly only the fourth country in the world to charge people money to seek asylum, to seek protection from persecution. Again, in addition to these fee hikes, the proposal is slashing fee waivers across the board, again, for basically everything that isn't required by law, which are some humanitarian protections there's required to be a fee waiver for. And in addition to the increase in fees and the reduction in fee waivers, there is also a proposal in this rule to transfer $207.6 million from USCIS to ICE to be used for enforcement. This money would come from the Immigration Examinations Fee account, which is meant, quote, to be used for, quote, expenses in providing immigration adjudication and naturalization services. So that is another really significant top-line takeaway as we're thinking about the rule and how we're going to respond to the rule. That USCIS is saying that they need to raise fees, they need to get rid of fee waivers, but they are also simultaneously proposing to transfer over $200 million to ICE for enforcement. Next slide, please. Thank you. A couple of procedural notes about what's going on with the rule. So USCIS has only offered a 30-day comment period for us to respond to this 300-plus page proposal, which again has massive impact and a sweeping impact that is both short-term and long-term for people. In the past, the fee schedule has had a 60-day comment period. So this is an atypical procedural issue that is going on right now. And Clinic, as well as many other organizations, joined in a sign-on letter that was submitted to USCIS very shortly following the publication of this rule, asking for that standard 60-day comment period. So we made that effort, but at this time, the 30-day comment period is still in effect, and that will close in a couple of weeks on December 16th. I will also note for people, of course, one of the big questions is when could this possibly go into effect? And I will say that, we don't know, the comment period has to close, comments need to be reviewed and so forth, but experts project, looking back on past history, that the proposed rule could go into effect probably 4 to 5 months following the comment period. So that's a best guess, again, to be thinking about. There has been some incorrect information out there circulating. What I want to emphasize is that we don't know exactly when it will go into effect, but this is what people are potentially estimating. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what can we do right now to fight back while we are in the midst of the comment period? Before I jump into kind of the couple of specific strategies we've pulled out here, I do want to note for everyone, as we're thinking about the fee schedule and we're thinking about our responses, one of the things that I think is really noteworthy is, like many things, reversing this in the future potentially is not easy. This isn't something that can be rescinded but with a memo or a more straightforward decision issued. In order to change this in the future, it would need to go back through the rulemaking process. It needs to go through the process, how the law governs the fee schedule, as we discussed earlier. So I think that's really important as we're thinking about our very busy schedules right now and prioritizing and the impact that this will make. So as we're in this comment period right now, of course, the top thing that both individuals and organizations can do to take a stand and fight back is to submit public comments. We'll show you later on in the slide and distribute later the number of resources that Clinic has put together to assist, again, individuals and organizations in submitting comments and raising their voices and taking a stand right now. On the particular topics of the naturalization change and the affirmative asylum fee of $50, Clinic has created two easy-to-use click-to-comment campaigns where you can literally click to comment, and they populate a pre-formulated comment for you, and you can submit both of those. Want to note that we definitely encourage people to tailor the comments for themselves, to raise their own specific points, talk about their own specific values and morals and principles, of course, but we do have these pre-populated comments for you to use. And then again, there's organizational comments, which are extremely important. Clinic has created a couple of resources that can assist you with this. We have a large template comment that is really geared towards organizations that are providing legal services, but there is very useful language for others that don't provide those particular services or are more advocacy focused. We also have a toolkit that has talking points that you can pull out, top lines, and Christy will, of course, talk more about the state and local effort later to talk more about comments. So that is really the first thing that we certainly recommend and call on people to do now as they're able to submit a comment as an individual, to submit a comment as an organization. And then the second part of that is, of course, please share, please raise awareness. The individual click-to-comment campaigns are something that you have a link, you can send it out across your office, share it on social media, share it with your church or religious organization or your school, whatnot. We are working on having as many comments as possible, both having the volume of comments and having really high quality, detailed comments as well as part of this multi-prong response. So if you move to the next slide, please.
Before we move on to the next slide, there's a question here regarding the comment resources that you just mentioned. Where can people go exactly to find those?
Sure. We have on I think it is on the next slide actually, the resource link for
good.
everyone.
Okay, 1 second.
Thank you.
Must be at the. Oh, sorry. It must be at the end actually. Can we move to the last slide then?
I think I see it right here.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So here is all of the links for everyone on the webinar. We have a fee schedule webpage, which includes the entire total of all of Clinic's resources on this topic, the link to that organizational template comment, the individual click-to-comment links, the toolkits, etc. So we've tried to consolidate all of that on that one page to make this process as easy as possible for everyone. We hope that's helpful. So I'll turn it back to Christy, I believe, on the previous slide to talk about the state and local response. Thanks.
Sure. 1 second. Is this? Yeah.
Thank
the right
you.
slide?
Thank you so much, Lisa. My name is Christy Williams. I am an advocacy attorney with Clinic, and I lead the organization's efforts at the state and local levels. So Lisa gave us a really great background of what we're doing on a national level and some of our top-line messaging. And before I get into our state and local response, just want to talk a little bit about some of our messaging to state and local audience, especially elected officials, and then share some of the recommendations and links to the toolkit and other resources we have for state and local advocates. So we want to emphasize the implications of the proposed policy on individuals and their families. The implications are grave in that the proposed policy changes present additional barriers for people to maintain the immigration documents they need to prove lawful presence in the country, for example, which is required in many states to maintain driver's licenses and occupational licenses. This is also an additional barrier for people to maintain documents they need to prove their lawful employment status, which we know is crucial to keeping jobs and applying for jobs. Also, without these documents, people will be unable to, again, renew driver's licenses and other state identification cards, which many of our brothers and sisters use to access their bank accounts, to access education and job training opportunities and other community services, medical services, and emergency services as well. So this impact on the individual person and their families is very critical, and this is one of the reasons why we're emphasizing to our state and local partners to raise awareness of the impact that this can have on our neighbors and encourage organizations and state and local officials to respond. For the state and local government and the community, there's also significant impact that could potentially happen as a result of this rule going into effect. Again, with the implementation of the proposed policies, we will likely see people facing the possibility of losing jobs, but that also means that the state and the locality could lose people, and people could drop out of the workforce because they're not able to maintain their jobs. That also can hurt the economy. People will not be able to pay taxes, business taxes, pay for fee-based services such as, for example, renewing their driver's licenses. There's a fee that comes with that the state brings in revenue from. We're also talking about income taxes as well as consumer purchases that also fuel the economy. So many states have also poured a vast amount of resources into promoting immigrant integration, and federal policies such as this can roll back those efforts and essentially waste the efforts and resources that a lot of cities and states have poured into ensuring that their communities are inclusive. So those are just a few of the messaging that we've been emphasizing to our state and local partners and encouraging folks to share the specific impact that the policy could have on their communities, because every community is different and the needs are different, and so it's very important for folks to respond and highlight those specific impact. And so this is why we have developed some tools to help state and local officials submit comments. We are also encouraging folks to think about adopting city resolutions. We're also encouraging folks to think about outreaching to the community. As Lisa mentioned, there is a lot of misinformation about some of the update on this rule and when the rule could possibly go into effect. And so we need to be mindful that misinformation can have significant impact on the immigrant community as well as on service providers as well. And so we're encouraging our state and local partners to conduct outreach into the community and provide the most accurate information to immigrants and stakeholders in the community. Also, when it comes to fraud prevention, we think that this rule and the heightened anxiety that it has brought really sets the stage for notarios and other predatory actors in the community to prey on immigrants and others in the community. And so we're also encouraging our partners, particularly legal services organizations that conduct know your rights training and other legal training out there in the community to, again, re-emphasize the need for people to seek out qualified representatives who can provide trustworthy information and help them avoid any potential legal issues that could come up because they got advice from the wrong person. And then all this effort as far as outreach into the community and in response to the need to file applications quickly before the fees go into effect, all that can have fiscal impact on legal services organizations. And so we're also promoting efforts. We're also promoting or encouraging efforts for fundraising to not only help with application fees for those who cannot afford it, but also to build capacity among service providers to be able to handle the influx of applications that we anticipate might start coming in before the rule takes effect. If we could move to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, and Lisa mentioned as well, we've created a list of resources, but I want to highlight two of our resources that we have for state and local audience specifically. We've developed a toolkit for state and local government, and again, it goes back to my call to action, for state and local officials to step in and talk about the direct impact the proposed changes could have on their communities and the unique services that they're providing to their community. They know the communities well. They're experts. They know the services that they are providing to people in the community and how this proposed changes could change all of that, how it could burden their efforts to their residents. And so this is specifically designed for officials to weigh in. So the toolkit includes model comments with some suggested arguments for officials to raise. But again, as Lisa mentioned, we encourage localities to tailor the messaging to their unique needs, so that way they're reflecting what their communities could look like if these policies go into effect. There's also model resolutions there's a model resolution to reaffirm cities' commitment to promoting inclusive communities and to push back on the proposed fees. There's also a sample letter for officials. They can adopt it and create sign-on letters and encourage other city officials or county officials to sign on and then raise their concerns as well to DHS about the proposed fee changes. So in addition to that, we will offer a free webinar on Friday, December 6th, and the link is on the slide. Feel free to urge your elected officials to join. It's a free webinar, and we hope that your officials will be able to join us and learn of the different tools that we've developed for them, but also to hear from other community organizations. We have partnered with the National Partnership for New Americans, or NPNA, and we will have Catholic Charities of Dallas, as well as representatives from the Miami-Dade Office of New Americans to come and talk about the potential impact the proposed changes could have on our various communities, as well as our work to our brothers and sisters in our different capacities. And so we encourage you to share this link with your state officials, and we hope that they can join us and just gather as much information as they can to be able to respond in a way that reflects what their community could look like. If we could move to the next slide, please. So again, here's a listing of the resources that we've created specifically for this campaign. We encourage you to share it widely. If you have any questions, please reach out to us and let us know if you would like to highlight any other response that you're seeing in your community that you think would be helpful to share with others so that they can think about adopting. That would be great as well. But thank you so much for inviting us. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if there are any questions, Lisa and I will take that at this time.
Thanks so much to the both of you. You were both clear and thorough, particularly to those of us who are not lawyers. So it made a lot of sense, and it's also troubling, some of the things that seem to be coming down the pike. So I would want to turn this over. If anyone has any questions, I know that the presentation was really clear, and it did cover a lot of ground, but if people have any questions now, we're more than welcome to type them into your box, the chat box down below. Give you a minute or so just to think about it. If you have some, if not, then that's fine as well. We've left with you a lot of resources to mull over anyway as we move forward.
This is Lisa. One thing I would just add too is, we're really talking about the rapid response right now to this proposed rule, and there will be more in the future. There will be legislative strategies, there will be oversight strategies, possibly potentially litigation. there's a lot more to come, but this rapid response now, getting out, submitting your comments, getting your locality, getting your state on board, making sure they know what's going on, making sure that they submit a comment. This is really what's incredibly crucial in the next couple of weeks as we lay the groundwork for what will be a long-term fight to prevent there being a wealth test to access naturalization, to access asylum and other vital immigration benefits.
Great. We have a question from Marie Lucy from FAN. Do state and local responses extend or go beyond December 16th deadline?
So the comment period closes on December 16th, and so if you're thinking, or if your organization is thinking about submitting comments, please do so by that deadline. In the toolkit, we offer other steps that state and local officials as well as organizations can take to prepare the community for possible implementation of this rule, and some of those responses and actions that I mentioned earlier include raising funds, for example, to help people pay for applications, providing funding and grants for local organizations to be able to respond to the need for legal services. And again, responding can include a public statement from your local official, highlighting, the need for our federal government to withhold, but implementing this policy, it shows solidarity with the immigrant community when they see their local officials speaking up in support of policies that make integration less challenging. So anything your local official can do to stand in solidarity with the immigrant community is certainly helpful, and that can go beyond the December 16th deadline.
Has there been much, just a question from my end, has there been much response from local officials at this point, or state and local officials from either party, or is it, like, how high of a profile of an issue is this sort of in the general public's viewpoint, versus kind of something that kind of slides under the radar pretty easily?
So there is a lot of interest from state officials and local officials as well, cities and county governments, to take action. The process, of course, with developing comments, that can take some time, but I definitely anticipate that a lot of state officials and city officials will be responding. And again, the webinar on Friday will be a good resource for many state governments and city governments that are thinking about developing their own comments and taking further action. And so if they were already thinking about it and developing their resources and their response, this will be a good tool for them as well.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions that you'd like to ask about the fee increases, or what Clinic is doing, or what you can do, or suggestions or ideas as to how, the people in the community can help to kind of respond to this issue? Because again, this webinar will be posted online, so people who aren't watching it right now will have access, and we can always learn a great deal from the feedback that you give on the local level. We learn from each other. So any other questions or comments or statements? Okay, well then I guess that is it. I really appreciate the both of you are coming on, Christy and Lisa, coming on and talking about this issue. It's really important. A lot of us don't know a lot about it, and so it's really an educational opportunity. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to continuing working with Clinic and everything that you do. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. All right, everyone, we really appreciate it. We'll see you on the next webinar, and I hope you all have a great day, and I hope you had a great Thanksgiving as well. Take care all.